Hello, welcome back to the channel, guys. If you're new around here, welcome to the Michael Talks Football channel. Today, I'll be predicting and previewing the Asia World Cup qualifiers third round. This is the final round to see who qualifies to Qatar 2022. So how does this work with the Asian World Cup qualifiers? Well, there's two groups, 6 teams in each group. The top 2 teams in each group will qualify automatically, while the third place teams from each group will play in a playoff to see then who qualifies to the intercontinental playoff to then decide who goes to the World Cup. So, yes, it's a bit of a delay since the COVID issue. So, a lot of games are going to be packed into each other. 2 games per international break. I think there's September, October, November, then January, February, and then the final rounds in March. So, very, very tough schedule, tight schedule to go with. We don't know about COVID issues if that occurs. A lot of things up in the air. But let's just get into the preview and predictions. In Group A, we have Lebanon, Iran, South Korea, UAE, Iraq, and Syria. So in 6th position in this group, I think it's going to be Lebanon. They obviously qualified to the Asian Cup in 2019, but they went straight away out during the group stage. They barely made it out of the second round of qualifying, but just having a better goal difference than I think it was Tajikistan or somebody like that. So, yeah, Lebanon, they're in the rise slowly but surely, which is a good thing to see. But they have now a new manager in Sheikh Ivan Hashak. If Lebanon have any chance of getting out of this group, Hilal El Halawi, he will have to continue scoring. But this could be a good development for Lebanese football, get the players better situated, better quality opposition. That was the case in the Asian Cup, and now here in the World Cup qualifiers. So I think 6th position, it will be Lebanon. In 5th position, I have Syria. A little bit of bad news for Syria heading into these World Cup qualifiers starting in September. Their former manager, Nabil Malul, the former manager, resigned due to financial issues and he wasn't unpaid, I think, for a couple months, he was saying. So now comes in Nizar Marous, who managed Syria twice in his career beforehand. But Syria were actually quite decent during the second round of qualifying. They only lost one match, which I think was the final match against China during the second round of qualifiers. So they're very much a team on the rise. But with that managerial change, will that destroy their momentum? Obviously, Malul took them very, very far and on a good winning streak as well. But they're going to have to heavily rely on Omar Al-Samah, who scored 7 goals in the second round of qualifiers. And he's been excellent for Syria in the last couple of years. So if Syria have any chance, they're going to need Al-Samah to score the goals. But it might be a long road since the change of managers for Syria. So I got Syria in 5th position in this. In 4th position, I have United Arab Emirates. They're a very high-scoring team, actually. They'd scored 23 goals in 8 games during the second round of qualifiers. And under manager Bert van Marwijk, who actually led the Dutch squad in the 2010 World Cup to the final. So he's a very experienced manager, knows how to get teams to the World Cup. The key will be for UAE is the defense. The defense is quite leaky. They allow a lot of goals, or is that maybe just the style of play that Bert van Marwijk plays with? But they got to get a solid defense. Maybe center back Walid Abbas, who's their most experienced player and their captain. He can lead the defense well. And with Ali Makboud, who has scored now 76 goals in 92 games for UAE during his career. And they're going to need him to keep his goal-scoring form that he had in the second round of qualifiers. But I just think with that defense, UAE might struggle against the tougher teams in this group. So I got the UAE in 4th position. In 3rd position, another team that's on the rise and has been very, very good recently in the last couple of years. It is Iraq. Iraq also have a new manager after Kontanek departed after being unpaid for 6 months apparently. So another of these issues of unpaid salary, which is very, very damaging to Syria and Iraq. But now comes in experienced Dutch manager Dick Advocaat. So, they get a very experienced manager, but the Kontanek, he led Iraq to many, many good results. They even beat Iran in the second round of qualifiers. They were undefeated actually from 2019 to 2021 before losing to Iran early this year. But they have a very young and promising squad with young promising striker Ali Mohnad, who's only 20 and will continue to get better. So Iraq could surprise. They have a young squad, like I said. Dick Advocaat, experienced manager. Will the managerial change hinder their results, hinder the momentum that they've created now in the last couple of years? I don't think so. I think they'll still get 3rd place. Obviously, when they're in the same group as South Korea and Iran, it's going to be difficult for Iraq. But they beat Iran 2020, I think. So they could possibly surprise those 2 teams. But I think Iraq will make it to the 3rd place in this group. In 2nd position, I have South Korea. Yes, South Korea under manager Paulo Bento, the former Portugal national team manager. They have very experienced leaders in Son and Kim Jong-un at the back. South Korea just need to find a goal scorer. They need a striker. That's the main thing for South Korea. But maybe Hwang Ho-jo from Bordeaux can do it. But they also have very exciting talent in this South Korean squad. Very young, exciting talent. Lee Kang-min from Valencia. We all know about him. He's been developing well at Valencia. Did well, I think, at the Olympics. So they just need to get some goal scorers. South Korea have a very good defense. Paulo Bento sets them up in a very good formation. But that striker play has hindered a little bit South Korea's form. They only beat Lebanon 2-1, even though creating so many chances during the second round of qualifiers. So that might be a recurring theme here, during these qualifications. So Son has to be the main man. Of course, we all know that. He's probably the best player in Asia. But I just think the lack of goal scorers up top might hinder South Korea. So I got them second place in this group. And also the travel that they have to do. They have to play all their games basically in the Middle East because all these other teams are playing in the Middle East. So will that hinder a little bit South Korea's form? Time will tell. But I got South Korea second place in this group. And in first place, I have Iran. A little bit of a turmoil Iran had in the second round of qualifiers. At one point after losing to Bahrain and Iraq, it didn't look like they were going to make it out of the second round of qualifiers, which would have been an absolute mess for Iranian football under Mark Wilmots, who was a disaster as Iranian national team manager. But now came in Dragan Skokic, and he hasn't lost a game yet since being manager of Iran. 7 for 7. They're looking good. They haven't conceded many goals. So they struggled a little bit, but then they got momentum once Skokic came as manager. And with the squad full of, talent everywhere, playing in all over Europe, with Ben Van in goal, the big guy who can throw half the field with the ball. And then they have Jahan Bash, the midfielder for Feyenoord, and then with Taremi and Azmoun up top. They have talent all over this team, and I think they can cause South Korea trouble. And obviously Iran and South Korea are a little bit of rivals in international football, so it's going to be fascinating to watch how these two teams will match up against each other once the qualifiers start. But I think Iran, they got momentum now. New manager Skokic. Thank God Mark Wilmots is gone from Iran because that was a disaster, like I said. So I think now they got momentum. They have a structure. Skokic is a good manager, it seems like. So I think Iran will be in first place in this group. Then we have Group B. We have Australia, Saudi Arabia, Japan, China, Vietnam, and Oman. Oman, I think they're going to be in sixth position in this group. I just think they were very consistent in the second round of qualifiers, but they had a very easy group when they had India, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan. But they have a very experienced manager in Branko Ivankovic, who led actually Iran to the World Cup in 2006. If they have any chance, Oman, of getting out of this group, or not a group, but qualifying to the Qatar, they're going to need Al Hajiri, the striker who has 13 goals in 25 games for Oman. But it could be a struggle for Oman. They just don't have the greatest amount of quality. So that's why I just think Oman will be in sixth position in this group. Then in fifth position, the team I did a video about the rise of this team, it is Vietnam. And you guys can go check that out on my channel about the rise of Vietnamese football in the last couple years. But I still just think Vietnam's rise has just been absolutely amazing. Obviously under the manager Park Hang-seo, great momentum they've had. Young players coming through. All their players mostly playing in Vietnam. But that is the problem I have right now with the Vietnamese national team. All their players are playing in Vietnam. And now, unfortunately, due to COVID, the league has been suspended until 2022. So what kind of effect is that going to have on this Vietnamese team? Obviously, it was the first 6 match days being played in 2021. Will these players be match fit? Will they be mentally ready? It's a bit of a struggle now for Vietnam national team after having so much great momentum. But obviously with great players all over the pitch, I just think the postponement of the league is going to be a big issue for Vietnam. But I just think that they will still do well, and this is a further step in the development of Vietnamese football. So I think they're going to be in fifth position. Fourth position, I have China. China, under manager Li Ti, haven't lost a game. They're 4 for 4, but they haven't played many games since the COVID issue. But they beat Syria 3-1, and obviously I talked about how Syria were very good during the second round of qualifiers. So I think that would bring a bit of confidence to the Chinese national team. Obviously with quality winger Wu Lei from Espanyol. They could frustrate other teams in this group, especially the likes of Saudi Arabia, Japan, and Australia. So I think maybe China could frustrate them, but they just don't have the quality to match with the other teams. If they had a team full of Wu Leis, those type of quality players, then I would say China would maybe be second or first in this group. But I just think China will just miss out on the qualification or automatic qualification. I think China will be in fourth position. Now we get into the three big teams. Who's going to be third position? Who's going to go to the playoffs? I think it's going to be Saudi Arabia. Sorry. Saudi Arabia, who obviously went undefeated in the second round of qualifying, but with an experienced international manager in Hervé Renard, who actually won a couple of AFCONs in his time during Africa, is now the manager of Saudi Arabia. They have a very young squad. They have an average age maybe 25, 26. Obviously, they made it to the 2018 World Cup. Actually won a game. Fantastic for Saudi Arabian football. I think it was their first win in the World Cup since 1994. So Saudi Arabia are in a good momentum here. Didn't do so well at the Asian Cup. That could hinder them a little bit, but they have an experienced midfielder in Salem Al-Dawsari. He had 5 goals in the second round of qualifiers. They have a very stellar defense. Now, just do they have the quality to match with Japan and Australia? I think they have the quality to match with Australia. So I think these two teams, Australia and Saudi Arabia, are going to fight for the second and third positions. But I just maybe think a little bit that Saudi Arabia can miss out. But I wouldn't be shocked if they got second position because Australia is not the same Australia as before. But for now, I'm going to have Saudi Arabia in third position. But don't be surprised if Saudi Arabia get the second place and automatically qualify to Qatar. And the second position, I have Australia. Australia, who went a perfect 8 for 8 in the second round of qualifiers. But under manager Graham Arnold, who's been manager since 2018, they didn't do so well at the Asian Cup, and he was very heavily criticized for that. But, he stirred the ship a little bit, got the perfect record during the second round of qualifiers. Obviously, there's not the same type of quality in this Australian squad as the days during the 2006 and 2010 runs where Australia were fantastic in international football. But they have experienced players like Trent Sainsbury, I think right back or left back for them, who now plays in Belgium. And they have a very, very tall and young center back in Harry Surar, who plays, I think, for Stoke City, who incredibly, as a center back, has 6 goals in 5 games for the national team. Pretty remarkable record for him. But they need to get a striker. Australia are now lacking very much striker play. They've only scored, I think they beat Jordan 1-0. They had many chances, but they just couldn't finish. So they need to find a striker who can put the ball in the back of the net for Australia. If they can find that, maybe they can find in Boyle or McLaren, one of these two guys to score for Australia. Then Australia could do well, and I think they could advance automatically to Qatar. But if they don't find this striker play, Australia might finish third, and then Saudi Arabia might be second. But we'll see how Australia do, but I'm going to say for now they're going to be in second position. And in first position, I think the best team in all of Asia is Japan. Of course, Japan, they had an astonishing 46 goals in 8 games during the second round of qualifiers. Obviously, we can talk about the opponents that they had. They weren't that good, beating Mongolia, I think like 14-13-0. But still, they scored 46 goals in 8 games. With manager Hajime Moriyasu, who took over the team after the World Cup in 2018, and they almost beat Belgium in the World Cup in 2018. You guys gotta remember that. They had a 2-0 lead, and they just somewhat fumbled it, unfortunately to say about Japan. But I think now they have just so much talent all over the squad. They got players like Minamino from Liverpool, Kubo from Real Madrid, and then experienced center back and Yoshida. Japan have all the qualities to be the best team in Asia, and I think they will easily qualify to Qatar, and they're going to be first position in this group. But you guys let me know in the comments who will be going to Qatar from these two groups. Could maybe Iran and Japan finish first in this each group? You guys let me know in the comments. Could Syria make a surprise? Can Vietnam surprise? What teams could surprise? Hopefully Iraq make it to third place. That would be a great story to see in their group. But you guys let me know in the comments your predictions. And if you're new around here, remember to subscribe to the channel. I'll be covering all the World Cup qualifiers: Asia, South America, Africa, Europe, CONCACAF, and North America. So stay tuned for that if you guys want to follow World Cup qualification towards Qatar. Thank you for watching. Have a beautiful day. Stay safe. And let's hope for great football during these Asian World Cup qualifiers. Peace.